Hello, this is another of our videos on literacy and culture, this one dealing with writing systems. And let me apologize for being a couple of days late with this video. Various matters intervened. So a writing system can be defined as a particular form of symbolic communication, which is linked with at least one spoken language, which it conveys in detail. There must be shared understanding between the writer and the reader of the text as to its meaning. Visual representations, which have meanings which are only understandable to the writer, such as some pictograms or private codes, are not regarded as writing, although they may be a form of proto-writing. All writing systems include at least one set of symbols, which when combined form a distinctive script. This script is structured by a particular set of rules and conventions, which are understood and shared by all literate members of the community. These rules and conventions assign meaning to the individual elements of the script, that is, its graphemes, and to the ordering and relations they have with each other. For example, in English, each particular letter is linked to a specific sound, a phoneme, and the letters are assembled to form understandable words and sentences. Script can be used to represent a number of different languages, each with its own meaning system. For example, the Latin alphabet is used to represent most modern European languages. Alternatively, a single language can be represented in more than one writing system. For example, the original Hindustani, it can be written in either Arabic script for Urdu or Devanagari script for Hindi. Again, Serbo-Croat can be written in both Latin and Cyrillic scripts, depending on the readership. Both Vietnamese and Turkish in historical times have switched from one system of writing to another. Thirdly, some scripts, for example Chinese characters, enable speakers of different languages to read and understand the same written text or message. And in a similar way, many writing systems include symbols which are widely understood by speakers of many different languages. For example, the numerals 1, 2, and 3, which are understood regardless of how they're pronounced, and simple mathematical operations such as 2 plus 2 equals 4, the ampersand and percent signs. Writing systems vary in how much they express spoken language. For example, whether or not they display its punctuation, tone, and word separation. They also differ from other forms of visual representation, such as drawings and maps. In any writing system, text is normally preserved, for a while at least, by being written on some medium, for example, clay tablets, papyrus, parchment, paper. However, these are likely to decay after time if they're not carefully preserved. By contrast, inscriptions on stone can last for thousands of years. In the modern world, text can also be recorded in electronic form and then displayed on a screen. Texts may be relatively transient, such as the words a teacher may write on a blackboard or skywriting. Braille writing for the blind or partially sighted represents a specialized form of text. Entirely transient representations of language, such as flag signals or the messages conveyed in Morse code by telegraph wire or radio signals, are not in themselves regarded as writing. The graphemes used in writing systems can change over time, so that different forms can be developed with different styles of writing, the invention of different forms of letters, such as differentiating between capital and lowercase letters in the Latin alphabet. There could also be considerable differences in individual and historical writing styles and in type fonts after the invention of printing. Finally, writing systems are likely to change far more slowly than spoken language, so that they represent older forms of expression that is, spelling that reflects, for example, spelling that reflects older patterns of speech, as in English. There are several different types of writing system, comprising the following: logographies, syllabaries, alphabets of 3 different kinds, and featural systems. Looking first of all at the logographies. These are sets of symbols comprising single written characters, which each, at least originally, represented a particular word. The meaning in these systems is inherent in the symbol. As each word must have its own distinctive symbol, a large number of symbols is required for detailed communication. The systems of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs and Mesopotamian cuneiform were both essentially logographic. In the modern world, Chinese characters represent a modified version of this system and can be understood across China by people who speak different dialects or cognate languages. A syllabary is a set of symbols which represents individual syllables in a language, each of which normally consists of a consonant sound followed by a vowel sound. For example, K, Ka, Ko, or sometimes just a vowel sound. They are best suited to languages which have a small number of used syllables rather than those which have a lot. For example, whilst Japanese, which uses syllabary, kana, as part of its writing system, only has around 100 syllables, English, with its multiple vowel sounds and complex clusters of consonants, has, I'm told, approximately 15 to 16,000. Alphabets consist of a set of symbols or letters which represent particular phonemes in a spoken language. It's the particular combination of letters which represent specific words, and the individual symbols do not have any inherent meaning by themselves normally, unless they represent single-syllable words, as with the English indefinite article a. But the set of symbols is quite small, reflecting the number of consonants and vowels in the language. For example, the English alphabet consists of 26 letters, each of which may be written in an upper or lowercase form according to the established rules of representation. By contrast, Arabic consists of 28 letters, which vary in their form depending on their position within a word, so you have different initial, medial, final, and isolated forms. Russian, again, consists of 33 letters, with only minimal differentiation between case forms. This reflection between a set of symbols and sounds need not be exact, as some languages use combinations of letters to represent some sounds. For example, the English use the letter letters SH to represent the sh sound and the TH to represent the sound. There are 3 different kinds of alphabet: abjads, true or full alphabets, and abogidas. An abjad is a system in which the consonants are written, but there are very few or no written vowels. The chief modern examples are the Arabic and Hebrew scripts, both used for Semitic languages with very few vowels. The true or full alphabets are systems which include both consonants and vowels. Both can be operated separately, as it were. The chief modern examples are the Greek, Latin, and Cyrillic scripts. Both Cyrillic and Latin scripts are used to represent multiple languages. In the case of Latin, with additional diacritics for some languages to represent specific sounds, accents on vowels and so on. All major European languages are fully alphabetic, and the Latin script in particular has been widely used to represent some non-European languages. Finally, we have abogidas. Abogidas are systems in which consonants are linked to specific vowels, with modifying symbols being used to represent other vowels. They differ from syllabaries in having a regular pattern of linking the vowel to the consonant. The chief modern examples are the majority of Indian scripts, together with those of mainland Southeast Asia, Burmese, Cambodian, Lao, and Thai, and the northern Ethiopian highlands, Gez, Amharic, Tigray, and Tigrinya. Finally, we have featural systems. These are forms of invented writing which seek to record the vocal features of the individual phoneme, that is, the way in which a particular sound is voiced, and not just its overall sound. The only living language to use this system is Korean Hangul, the conscious creation of literate experts. It's also found in the various forms of shorthand. In practice, the various systems are often mixed, albeit to a limited extent. Logographic elements in the form of numerals and other widely recognized signs are common in non-logographic languages, whilst being voiced completely differently. So 1, 2, 3 can be uno, dos, tres, eins, zwei, drei, vier, iki, uch, wahed, isnan, salasa, yek, dor, se, and so on. Logographic systems come to incorporate elements which indicate phonetic signs as a guide to pronunciation. Abjads may employ diacritics to indicate vowels, although these are likely to be used only rarely, for example, when teaching writing to beginners. There are certain constraints on the ease with which one writing system is taken up by a variety of language communities. Thus, whilst the basic Latin script is used to represent a wide variety of languages, it's often been adapted with additional marks, accents, and other diacritics to indicate a distinctive sound used in that particular language by the different uses of a particular letter. English is unusual in its relative lack of diacritics compared to many other European languages. Again, whilst the Abjad system works well with languages which only have a limited number of vowels, such as Arabic and Hebrew, it works far less well with non-Semitic languages like Turkish. Indeed, it's presumed that both full alphabets and abogidas were developed as a means of adapting an original Abjad to a more vowel-rich language. In the case of Chinese, they have proved to be more difficult for other, the system has been proved to be more difficult for other East Asian peoples whose languages belong to different language families. Thus, whilst the Koreans, Vietnamese, and Japanese all adopted Chinese characters in the past, the Koreans eventually developed their own writing system, which is a better fit for their language. The Vietnamese adopted a modified version of the Latin script, and the Japanese developed their own complex system, combining their own adaptation of Chinese characters with the kanji with a double syllabary, the kana. The different writing systems vary in the ease with which they're learned. Alphabetic systems have the fewest number of characters to learn, with typically less than 100 symbols, representing different forms of individual letters, including diacritics, differences between upper and lowercase letters, and so on. But the other two systems have far more, with syllabaries perhaps having several hundred, and logographies possibly having thousands. As a human creation, writing necessarily has a history, and whilst the details of that history are often obscure, many of the main elements can be readily discerned. This is my version. First, writing developed out of earlier forms of visual signs, what we call proto-writing. This development occurred in a number of places around the world, rather than just one, as used to be widely believed. Known loci for the development of writing comprise ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt in the Near East, China, and Mesoamerica. Other loci are possible, notably the ancient Indus Valley civilization, but scholarly opinion remains uncertain as to whether these particular visual signs are genuine writing or only proto-writing. The writing systems which have been best studied and understood are those where scholars have been able to identify the languages involved and to decipher the early scripts. There remains a significant number of visual sign systems which have so far remained undeciphered, as in the case of the Indus Valley civilization, and in many cases the language represented by the signs also remains unknown or uncertain. The historically earliest writing system to develop was that used in Sumer in southern Mesopotamia. This became widely used across the ancient Near East and was adopted by speakers of a range of different languages. Although nearby, the writing system developed in ancient Egypt appears to be a separate development, although experts differ on this. Certainly, the Chinese and Mesoamerican writing systems were independent developments. Various other writing systems have been developed up to almost the present day, but these have been created with knowledge of the earlier writing systems, and sometimes in direct emulation of them. A crucial early development occurred amongst Semitic peoples, aware of and influenced by the complex writing system developed by the Egyptians. Their key innovation was to develop the earliest Abjad alphabet, that is, a small simple set of symbols to represent the consonants of their language, which has been called Proto-Semitic. This Abjad alphabet was readily adopted and adapted by other Semitic peoples, with Aramaic and later Hebrew and Arabic playing a major historical role. Using an Abjad system with its lack of vowels was awkward for peoples who spoke languages which had a greater range of vowels. Borrowing their basic alphabet from the Semitic-speaking Phoenicians, the Greeks therefore developed the first full alphabet by adding additional symbols for their vowels to the Phoenician Abjad. This innovation was soon copied, notably by the Romans in the West, who developed the Latin alphabet, now the most widely used script across the world, and later by Greek-influenced missionaries to the Slavs, who developed Cyrillic, another of the world's major alphabets. Although the linkage is uncertain, it's also widely believed that a second set of innovations from the Abjad system led to the creation of the world's various Abughidas, both those of Ethiopia and Eritrea and India. This means that the majority of the world's present-day writing systems are descended from a Proto-Semitic Abjad. The developments outlined above constitute the major part of the history of writing. The more recent developments have been, firstly, the invention of the Korean Hangul script in 1443, and secondly, various newly invented scripts developed to cater for minority languages not covered by existing scripts, most famously, perhaps the Cherokee syllabary invented by Sequoyah. Again, several countries have reformed or changed their writing systems in the past few centuries, as with the replacement of the old Ottoman script by a modified version of the Latin script in Republican Turkey. So thank you for listening, and particular thanks to my patrons for their kind support and encouragement. You're very welcome to support my channel if you so wish. Please do like, comment, and share on the videos. Subscribe if you want to be notified of future videos. Next week, I'll talk about proto-writing. Have a good day.